5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Diary of a Kidney Warrior. Sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love.
Hi and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. My name is Dee Moore and I am a stage 4 kidney warrior. This podcast is dedicated to encourage, educate and inspire as we explore all aspects of kidney disease, chronic illnesses and health. If you have any questions or ideas for topics you would like me to cover, please get in contact with me on social media using the handle Diary of a Kidney Warrior. And in today's episode, on the 8th of March, we are celebrating International Women's Day, a day dedicated to honour the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women around the world. Today I highlight and celebrate the strength and tenacity of my vivacious guest, kidney health advocate, Roxy. Roxy is from Cheshire, England, and joins me today to share her inspirational story of returning back to dialysis after the failure of her kidney transplant. Hi and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior, the podcast. How are you doing today, Roxy?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. I always love doing Kidney Warrior stories and talking to people about their Kidney Warrior experiences because, you know, there's an expression that says, who feels it knows it. So who better to share advice and who better to give a realistic picture of what it's like to have kidney disease than somebody who's actually going through it. So, welcome today. And I know that you have more than one chronic illness, and we will be talking about your other chronic illness in another podcast. But today we're focusing on your Kidney Warrior story. And so I'm going to start with my first question. And this is, how did your Kidney Warrior journey begin and how were you diagnosed?
I was in hospital with my other chronic condition. Basically, they'd put me on a medication and I wasn't taking to it very well. So they made me do a 24-hour urine test. And the results of that showed that there was blood and protein in there. So they said, we're going to ship you off to another hospital where they'll do a kidney biopsy. So I had my first biopsy. At this point, I was 18. So it was very scary, as you can imagine, walking into a renal ward and there's big machines. And I mean, they weren't like the nice, dainty Fresenius machines that they've got now. These were still rocking the really old school, clunky, horrible machines. And I was just crying. Don't want to go on one of them machines to my dad. And my dad was like, look, you're only here for a biopsy. And I'm just thinking the worst at this point. Anyway, so I had the biopsy and it showed that I had inflammation of my kidneys. So at that point, they said they would start me on cyclophosphamide. But I did what most young people probably go home and do and Google cyclophosphamide and everything else. And Google is the worst thing you can do when you get diagnosed with anything.
Yes, it is.
You know?
It really is.
So I was like, I don't want cyclophosphamide. I'm not having it. Oh, look, the hair will fall out. Oh, this, that, and the other. So the doctor was like, okay, well, you can have the mycophenolate. I'll go with that. 2 tablets a day or whatever. So I started on that. But within a couple of weeks, I started to retain fluid. I wasn't passing as much urine. And by the end of about probably 4 weeks, I looked like the Michelin Man. Remember the tyre guy, you know? I puffed up that much with fluid. You couldn't even recognise me. Oh, wow. And my mum was like, I think we need to take you back to the hospital. So we jumped in the car. We ringed them and said, look, we're coming down to the ward. I'm not doing well. I walked in. The renal doctor that was on at the time took one look at me and went, you're getting a line. You're starting hemodialysis tonight. I was like, what? Whoa. So yeah, exactly. But he is very, to the point. If you're going to die in a week, he's telling you you're dying. He's that type of doctor. So at that point, I burst out crying. Dad, you said I wouldn't end up on one of them machines. Oh no, blah, blah, blah. So I had a neckline put in. And yeah, started dialysis straight away pretty much. The same night, I remember, it was the same night because my dad and mum were still there. Another doctor come round and said, you know, she's going to need a transplant. Do you want to give her one, sort of thing, to my dad? You'll probably be her best match. So my dad was like, look, I'll do anything for my daughter. You know, dads are like soft, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, dad started testing then, but because of my other condition, that wasn't like under control enough for me to get a kidney. So I did stay on dialysis for 6 years before I got my first transplant. But I mean, I had some right ups and downs in between that, and I did peritoneal dialysis as well, because I wanted to be at home. But then I had a lot of acute peritonitis, which is so painful. Oh, it's probably one of the worst pains I've ever felt. And then another time I had to go back onto hemodialysis because I'd had issues with my tube from my peritoneal dialysis. And then when I got skin cancer, it was near the tube. So by the time I got that, they were like, look, we're going to have to take the tube out and you can't have another one back in because of scarring. So I was like, okay. So at that point, I had a permanent fistula done then. And that was it, home dialysis on hemodialysis from that point on. So yeah,
Wow.
it's been mad. It's been a mad journey.
Wow, that is such a lot to take in, like so suddenly to be told that you have to go on to dialysis straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel? I mean, that must have been like so scary. Like, talk
Yeah,
me
I
through
mean,
that. Like, what happened then?
well, because I was 18, it's a time when you should be going on girls' holidays, you should be out partying. But I just felt like everything had come at once. So it was like all of a sudden diagnosed with one thing, then diagnosed with another thing. And then you think, oh, they're going to give you this medicine and your kidneys are going to be fine. You don't think at 18, oh, I'm going to lose my kidneys. So it was like you didn't even have time to process it properly. And I think with me, I'm more of the cup's half full than the cup's half empty. So I tried to take positives from it. Like, well, it's okay. I can do this, every night. I'll be fine. I can still see my boyfriend at the time and whatever else. But then after I think a couple of months of it, I think it hit me then. And I sort of just broke down into tears one day with my dad and my mum in the hospital. And I was just like, I'm fed up. I'm being poked and prodded all the time. If it's not one thing, it's something else. And I just want to be a normal teenager again. So it got to that point where it was a lot. But then I was like, no, right, shake it off. You've had your cry now. Let's just get on with it. But it was very scary. But I suppose it made me grow up quicker as well, because I thought I've really got to take this seriously. And then because of my chronic condition, not a lot of doctors deal with it at the level that I'm at. It was like, right, I need to learn as much about this as I can so I can educate doctors. So when I go into hospital, I can say, look, I don't think I can have that medication because I think that can counteract and set me off, or I don't think you should be giving me. Do you know what I mean? And it was like that. And do you know what? It's really worked, because over the years, like GPs especially, have gone to give me things and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. That will just set me off and make me really bad. And then they'll look it up and, oh yeah, you can't have that. No, I can't. So yeah, you really got to keep yourself in the game.
Yeah, because I have a firm belief that you have to be your own health manager
Yeah.
and really ask a lot of questions and follow up on things. If you're meant to have an
Yeah.
appointment and you don't see it within a certain time, chase it up. If you're
Yeah.
meant to have a letter or whatever the case may be, follow things up, because
Yeah.
things can slip through the net. And
They
it's
can.
quite scary to hear, actually, that you're having to say in terms of your medication. But
Yeah.
it's good that you've got that knowledge to be able to
Yeah.
say, actually, that won't help. I mean, that's quite scary, because for people who don't have that knowledge, they could
Exactly.
actually suffer quite severe
Yeah.
consequences. So
I mean, my renal doctor now, he'll laugh and he'll be like, "Oh, it's Dr. Roxy, is it?" Because I'll say, look, I'll walk in and I'll be like, because no one knows your body like yourself. You know your body, don't you? If something's
yeah.
not right. And I'll walk into his clinic and I'll say, right, I've had this here in this side of my lung and it's really hurting. I think it's pleurisy. I need 20 milligrams of prednisolone for a week. And he'll just look at me and go, okay, Dr. Rox, and start writing notes down. But half the time I'm right and he just laughs at me. It's funny. But I've got a good relationship with a lot of my consultants now, which is good.
Yeah.
It took a long time though.
So rewinding slightly, so you mentioned about having skin cancer.
Yeah.
So on top of your diagnosis of kidney disease, you then have another serious illness to deal with as well. I mean, how did you wrap your mind around that?
You know what? It was dead right. You never. So I had a lump on my side of my stomach, and I kept feeling it, but it felt like a cyst. You know, it because like when you squidged it, it was squidgy and movable. So at first I thought nothing of it, but it was getting bigger, and I thought, oh, this is a cyst. This needs taking out and popping or whatever. So I went to the GP, and they referred me to the dermatologist team to have a sample of it taken out or whatever. And I got there, and they went, oh, we're not taking that off. And I looked at him, well, what? He says, oh, it's cosmetical, that. I don't need, it's just a little spot that will go on its own. And I was like, look, I've got lupus. If you do not remove this, the cells in it can change and they can turn to something nasty. I want it removing. Oh, well, okay. Oh, she was horrible. So she took this one out. And then 3 weeks later, I get a letter for the Christie Hospital, which is a local cancer hospital. And I ring my dad, said, I got a letter here for the Christie. He says, what do you need to go there for? I said, I've got no idea, Dad, I ain't got cancer. So I start panicking. Anyway, so my dad says, right, I'll have the day off work, I'll take you. So we go to this appointment and we go in this room and this lovely doctor, I think he's like Maltese or something. He's just lovely. And he goes, okay, so do you know why you're here? I was like, no. He says, you've got squamous cell carcinoma. I went, in English, mate. And he says, it's a type of skin cancer that's very rare in young people and it's very rare in people of skin of colour. And I was like, right, so I've got it. And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, right. And he said, did you not know because you had a sample taken from Leighton? And I said, no, they didn't tell me. And he said, oh, well, yeah, that's what it was. And I was just disgusted that they'd not even had the decency to ring me and say, the sample we took was that. So after a few more scans and things, it turned out I had 4 lumps internally on like the stomach wall, and they were all cancerous. So I had to have them straight removed. Like I was in for surgery literally that week. But they never had to do anything else after. I didn't have to have chemo or anything because they got it all out, luckily. But that was just mental. So now I go back every 3 months and they just check, because apparently with that type of skin cancer, if it gets into your lymph nodes, it can be quite dangerous. So I go back and have checks and stuff. So touch wood, everything's been all right for that since.
That is just like I don't even know what to say. That is just mind blowing. And, I really, you've got such a positive attitude. You're so upbeat. Like you've clearly been through so much in terms of, and we're going to talk more about your journey, but just the little that I've heard so far, you've been through so much, and yet you've got such a positive, upbeat mindset. And I just really commend you. Like
I think you have
you're a warrior.
to.
You really are a warrior.
I think you've got to. I think if you get diagnosed with something like kidney failure, anything, any type of diagnosis, especially when people mention cancers and things, a lot of people think the world's over, that's it. But just because you've been diagnosed with something, it does not mean your life has to stop. You just live to your limitations, what you can do, and enjoy it. Life is too short.
Yeah.
And I always think there are people worse off. There are children in children's wards, that haven't even had a life, what hand has God given them? It's just so sad. So I just think, you know what? I've got a roof over my head. I've got a family that love me. I've got a boyfriend that puts up with me. God knows how, but he does. And life goes on. So enjoy it. I know my limitations. I know I can't go out clubbing till 3 a.m, but I can surely sit at home and have a giggle with my friends or what have you, because we're not going to the pubs at the minute, are we? But but I can I enjoy my life the way I can. And I say to anybody, if you get diagnosed with something, don't think that it's the end of anything. Just know you can do you your way. That's my way.
No, that's really good advice, because it's so easy to focus on the can'ts and
Yeah.
the things you can't do and the places you can't go, and this, that, and as well, especially now during
Yeah.
COVID, where we can't go anywhere, kind of thing. It's very easy to be stuck and focused on the can'ts, but as you said, when you focus on what you can do within your own limits,
Yeah.
it's a much better place and mindset to have, because
Yeah.
when you're thinking of what you're able to do, it's like, oh yeah, I can do this and I can do
Yeah.
this and I can do this, and it just opens up so much more in terms of how you feel and your mindset and just the way that you see the world around you. So
Yeah.
that's really, really powerful. It really is.
Yeah.
So you were on dialysis and you talked about your journey with skin cancer as well. So you went on to have a transplant.
Yeah. After 6 years of the dialysis, they decided I was finally ready to have the transplant from my dad.
Right.
So we were booked in with Manchester, and we went through all the tests and everything, and you have to go for the counselling where they make sure that you're not paying somebody to give it you and everything like that. It's really strange. It's like, well, it's my dad, I haven't got a penny to my name, never mind to pay my dad off, but okay. So did all that, and then we got booked in, finally got the date, and it was like, right, this is really happening. So on the day of the transplant, they take my dad down first. So he was wheeled down and I was waiting for a couple of hours. And then in the end, they wheeled me down. And the porter says, if you look through there, you'll see your dad. And I was like, what? So we've gone into the anaesthetic room and obviously the operating theatre. We go into the same operating theatre. And I looked up and I could see my dad just lying there, like they hadn't woken him up yet. And then he says, that's your kidney there. And it's the bag that says organ on it, organ transplant or whatever. And he's like, that's your kidney in there. I was like, oh my God. So it was like, this is so real. So anyway, I went in, had the transplant, and they woke me up. And the woman in resuscitation says, oh, you're not like your dad, are you? I says, what do you mean? She says, well, when we tried to wake you up, you said, no, let me sleep. When we woke your dad up, he said, am I all right?
Oh, bless.
That was quite funny. So the ward that we were on, they have the women on one side and men on the other, but there's like the nurse's desk, in between. So it's like an open ward, but separate. So 3 days into the transplant, because they get you up out of bed the next day and everything to make sure your lung function's okay. So you don't want you lying flat. And then they do what they call, is it a T scan? And they just check the flow of the kidney. But my kidney was sleeping. I had a sleeping kidney, which is really uncommon when you have a live donor kidney. Usually they're awake straight away. But I was like, oh, it's a man's kidney. Of course, it's blooming asleep, Come from me dad, it's lazy. So it wasn't working. Anyway, the woman next to me, she was lovely. We really got on really well. She'd had a transplant about 4 days before me. It was an anonymous transplant. So we were sort of going through it together, and it was nice. Anyway, the third day we could hear this do, 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 do. This, what's that? And it's my dad dancing into our side of the ward, with his gown, with his out, his friends and everything. I says, what are you doing? He says, I'm going home. I says, what? 3 days? He says, long as I can poop and I'm drinking, I can go home. And I was like, wow. And I just couldn't believe, how just goes to show how resilient the human body actually is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my dad went home and I stayed in for a further 10 days because I still wasn't peeing or anything. But then when I did start to, obviously you have to start, you have a catheter in. So they're monitoring what's going in and what's coming out. And you have to write down, oh, I've had a litre drinks today. And then they're like, no, more. But when you've gone from being told, don't drink any more than a litre, to drink, 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 drink. It's so hard.
I
Like,
can
you'd think
imagine,
it'd be
yeah.
amazing. Like, the first thing I wanted to do was just neck a pint of pop, but I just didn't. Like, because I got that fed up of doing it. It was so hard. But then when they finally took my catheter out, my dad had come up to visit me, and I stood up and he went, Rox. And I looked down, he went, you've peed yourself. I was like, oh no, I forgot now. When I get the feeling I actually can pee, I've got to go to the toilet. And this nurse come in, she went, look, love, you won't be the last, because you're definitely not the first. I was like, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
Oh, wow.
So, because then you had to pee in a jug then, you see, and measure your output that way. But yeah, I just did it over the floor, as you do. So yeah, then after about, I think I come home about 15 days after. I did do a few stints back into him. We could never really get my creatinine right down we could never get it under 300. It was always creeping up. And the doctor said it could be because it came from my dad, who's a man, so they have a higher creatinine anyway. And because my dad had he's got quite an athletic build. And with being black, that sometimes can give you a higher creatinine as well.
Yeah.
Just because we're bigger muscle massed, I suppose, or something like that. That's what he said anyway. I don't know if he was, making things up, but
no, it's true.
Yeah.
So
we could never get it down, but I did all right for 2 years. I managed to go on holiday without dialysis and things like that. So I did okay, eating what I wanted. But then 2 years in, I just started to lose weight rapidly. And my mum says, you don't look right. I was going skinny in the face, and I'm a chubby face girl. So it was just odd. And I was like, no, I don't feel myself. My appetite's a bit off. So I went to the hospital, had my bloods done, and they rang me and says, oh, you need to come in. Your creatinine's through the roof, your urea's through the roof, blah, blah, blah. So I went in, they did a biopsy of the transplanted kidney, and they said it's rejecting. I was like, what? So I just burst into tears.
Oh, no.
I was like, what can you do? You've got to save it. I'm not going back on dialysis. So they did what's called antibody removals to try and get the antibodies, of the kidney down.
Yeah.
But every time they do it, it'll just shoot back up again. So it wasn't working. So yeah, it was back onto dialysis. But this time I couldn't have a line in my neck because they'd just gone too small or whatever. So I had one in my groin, and I had that for 18 months back on dialysis. Wow. Yeah. So that was a bummer. It really was.
So it must have been devastating to hear that the kidney had been rejected and that you had to go back onto dialysis. So
yeah.
How did you come to terms with that? How did you get your mind around that?
Well, I just realised I didn't really have much choice, It was dialysis or nothing. So sort of had to pick myself up. I just felt bad on my dad that he'd gone through all that, and but he said if I had to do it all over again, I would. He said, you've had a good 2 years, so look at it that way. And I was just like, you know what, he's right, I have.
Yes.
I've had a good 2 years, so back to dialysis we go.
So how long have you been on dialysis since you
I've
lost
been
that
back on
kidney?
7 years now. 7 long years.
So I saw a video that you shared on Instagram.
Yeah.
I must admit I was looking through the gaps in my fingers. Where you were sharing how you connect yourself to your dialysis line.
Yeah.
And that was I must say very, very graphic. At the same time, I appreciate the fact that you were brave enough and kind enough to share what you do and to let people know what you as a dialysis patient have to do, but also, showing people the highs and lows, showing people in such a, I can't express enough, the way that you shared was in such a light-hearted, this is what I do. You just explained everything, you broke everything down, but you did it in such an upbeat and positive way. It just blew me away. I just have to say, to be so positive and I think glass half full person doesn't quite do you justice, because I think you take it a step beyond that. And I
Thank
just want
you.
to commend you and being brave enough, as I said, because I do think it is so brave to share your life and difficult situations on um whichever social media platform it is. I mean, it's
Yeah,
easy to put a filter on, or put loads of makeup on and hair extensions and all the rest of it, and look at me, I'm
yeah.
pretty, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But to share something so personal, something that is so challenging and difficult, I really do commend how brave you are. And so I just want to ask, what made you decide to do that?
I just think when I was going on dialysis and got my diagnosis and everything, there was no social media really. So there was no platforms out there for you to reach out to someone and think, hey, you're a bit like me, you know, can I ask you a question or anything? So I just think I'm a really approachable person. I like to think I am anyway. And I
Yeah,
just
you are.
think, yeah, I just think if there is someone young out there, they might connect and think, wow, she's young, she's doing it. Let me ask her a question. Or I wonder if this happens to her. The silly little things like things like I never realized like your periods could stop when you have renal failure. I didn't realize that it was just a normal, natural thing. And I just think if I can just be out there and say, yep, this can happen. Yep, you can get headaches. Yep, you can feel like you've been on a night out or whatever. And just be honest about it and show the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just be truthful rather than a nurse that's never been through it sitting there telling you, oh, it'll be all right. Oh, it's not too bad. No, don't sit there, Karen, and tell me it's going to be okay
Hmm.
when when you've never been through it, you don't know what it's like. You don't have needles stuck in your arm every week or a doctor poking you in braces and a male doctor having to check you over. So don't tell me, Karen. I'll tell you. you know, it's like that. So I just wanted to just show it really. And I just thought, you know what? I use my social media platform for other things, but I'm going to throw a bit of my health journey in there so people can understand. And also, my main thing is people can see not all disabilities are visible.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I can park up in town in a blue badge spot, disabled spot, and I will get looks. And I'm like, mate, you can't see what's going on inside my body. I could
Exactly.
get out of this car now and walk 100 yards, not even that, and I am knackered, or my legs will go and I'll need my crutches, or I'll be fine, go around and do the shopping with my partner, and by the time I've finished, I'm done, and then go home and sleep for the rest of the day. And these people don't see that. They
Yeah.
think unless you look physically disabled, then you're fine, and no, it doesn't work like that.
No, I totally agree, and it's an excellent point. People, unless they see, well, usually they expect to see a wheelchair or
Yeah,
some kind of walking aid, shall we say, whether it's a
yeah,
walking stick or a frame or whatever it might be. But unless they see a limb missing or a chair or a walking aid, they're like, oh, well, you're not disabled, and
yeah,
you get these looks and stereotypes and all the rest
yeah.
of it. And I was having a conversation with another kidney warrior who he was going to use a disabled toilet, and the staff member challenged him, and
Wow.
he said to him, you don't know what's going on with me.
Yeah,
My disability is invisible, but that does not mean I'm not, that I'm not
exactly.
disabled. And he
Yeah.
kind of pulled his shirt open, and the member of staff kind of mouth fell open, and he looked so ashamed of himself, because
Yeah,
he could see the line, the tube,
yeah,
in his chest. And it's like, don't make that assumption. And
yeah,
I think, that message really does need to be drilled home to people. Not every disability is visible.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely so important to put that out there.
it is.
So you've touched on some advice earlier. but I'm going to ask you again if like for some more, because, you know, I'm really greedy and I just like to get loads more advice out there. So for somebody that's just been diagnosed with kidney disease, somebody early on in their journey, what advice would you give to them?
Don't Google. I know I said it before, but do not Google. If you Google, you're going to think you're going to be dead within a day. Oh, don't do it. Please don't Google, and don't, do you know, this one is a new one that well, it's not really new that I've come across, but I'm noticing it more. If you are on social media and you join, say, a kidney forum, there's ones on Facebooks and stuff. There's like the renal patient advice one on Facebook or whatever. Don't go on there asking questions all the time, because they're not doctors. A lot of the people on there like to think they're doctors, but they're not. And then you get, I don't even know if this is a right way to say this, but I'm going to say it. You get these voodoo scammers that come up and they're like, Dr. Hirachi fixed me within a week. Just drink this tea. It's $100 per pack. No. Stop trying to scam people off their weaknesses. So don't fall for none of that either. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry to laugh, but the reason why I'm laughing is I get that all the time pop up on my page, and I have to delete them off.
Oh,
Because
it's
somebody,
terrible.
as soon as they see the hashtag kidney disease,
Yeah.
or whichever hashtag it is that they follow, I'm making assumptions here, but whichever hashtag that they're following, yeah, I've seen it time and time again. And as you said, this doctor blah 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 cured me of blah blah blah, and you know, I laugh about it because I'm not in that vulnerable place to believe it, but there's people
There's people that do.
that
Yeah.
are desperate to find help and desperate to find a cure. And these scammers, as you rightly said, come along, promising the earth, you know, con people out of their money, and it is disgusting.
It's sad. It's so sad. And so don't fall for none of that. Talk to people. That is a big advice. Talk to your family. Let them understand what's going on in your body. Don't think, oh, I don't want to tell them. They've got enough going on. You know, if you don't tell people how you're really feeling or how to be around you or whatever, then people won't know how you're feeling.
True.
My auntie knows if I'm in a bad mood, because I go up and down, you know, especially with being on the steroids. My moods can flip. So if I'm in one of my moods where I just can't be bothered with anyone, she's like, oh, she's in one of her moods. I'll ring you tomorrow, and puts the phone down. She knows now. And it's like, it's a laughing joke now, because I've told people now I'm not being nasty. If I'm a bit aggressive towards you or whatever, I'm just in one of my moods. And they know. So if you don't tell people, they're not going to know. Another bit of advice, like I said before, just try and stay positive. Think of the cans, not the can'ts. You know, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. So do things that make you mentally happy. If you've got social media and there's a friend on there that's always, oh, it's raining, oh, I can't do this, delete them, because they are bringing nothing to your mental health. Just bin them off, gone, shoo, in the bin. You know, do things that make you mentally happy. If shopping on eBay makes you happy, do it. If, you know, if going for a nice little walk,
guys, within reason.
Yeah, within reason. Don't get yourself in debt and then come and blame me. But, you know, go for nice walks if you can, or if there's a place local to you that you like to go and just sit and just, you know, take it in, or whatever, clear your mind. If you like doing crosswords, do them, but always have that time for you. I'll go for a nice bath, have a nice bath bomb in there, bit of music on, you know, and just relax for 10-15 minutes, and that's me. I'm cool. Then after that, I'll come out and eat. Because boy, I love to eat. But yeah, that's another thing. When you get renal disease, the renal diet is one of the most unhealthiest diets going, and your dietitian will tell you that, because you can't eat. You got to watch your potatoes, you got to watch your crisps, your chocolate, your drinks, and there's something about everything. So you might think, oh, I'll have a brown bread sandwich because that's healthier. No, brown bread actually has more phosphate in it, and you don't think of that. So then it's like, oh, we'll have to have white bread. Okay. What am I going to have on it? Cheese. Oh, no, that's too much phosphate. So you've got to do things within reason. So, balance it out, but try and keep your diet as healthy as you can, but obviously looking after yourself. So it does take a bit of jigging to get your diet right. That's one thing I will say. But once you've got it, you're fine.
That's really good advice. Thank you. While you were talking, you touched on steroids, because steroids, everybody knows about steroids, and how wonderful they are. You need them, but they're kind of, what's the best way to put it? They
Ruin
leave
you.
their mark.
Yeah.
So let's talk about steroids. And when I say disclaimer, when I'm talking about steroids, I'm talking about the ones given to you by a doctor, not the ones that you use to get muscles. We're not talking about that. So yes, steroids. How have they been for you? What have been the highs and lows of steroid treatment for you?
Okay, steroids for me, I've been on them now 13 years. If I run out of my steroids and don't have them for 2 days, I know about it. My lupus starts flaring up my joints, so I get really painful joints. But the downside to my steroids is the appetite. Like, you've got to learn that you're not really hungry, but your steroids are telling you you're hungry and you just want to eat rubbish, basically. So that's a downside. So I've had to learn to balance that. And then the other downside is, because I've already got renal bone disease from like the years of dialysis, my steroids have made my bones thinning. So I've got thin bones now because we have a bone density scan. So I had osteoporosis anyway, but now I have onset scoliosis in my back. And this is all from steroid use. So my back has a curve in it. You can see it when I'm stood up. And I never thought anything of it before. I just thought it was the shape of my body. But just the middle of last lockdown, I went to have a scan on it, and she showed it me. And at the bottom of my back, it's the little, the little square bits in your spine. They're starting to compress, and it's all because of my steroids. Because it's made me that weak, it's just started to do it. So yeah, it's mental. But then I couldn't be without my steroids. So, and then the other thing with my steroids, like I say, is my moods. They really do give me mood swings, up and down, up and down. Roid rage, is that what they call it?
I like that. I haven't heard that one before. I like that, roid rage.
Roid rage, it really is. But yeah, so that's the bad side to them. But then if your doctor says you need them, you need them. And moon face. If you're on a high dose, get the moon face. And like I said, I've got a chubby face, so when I've got moon face, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally understand about moon face. I mean, with me, it was like, when they put me on the steroids, I was on a very high dose for a while, and then gradually, they take it down, and I'm still on them, but a very low dose. But when I was on the high dose, it was like everyone told me at the beginning, oh, they make you gain weight, this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah. And I was fine. And I'm not exaggerating. I literally woke up in the morning and my face was the size of the moon. And it was like something like a Laurel and Hardy movie where, you do that double take.
Yeah.
And I was like, I look like a chipmunk. And I just was like, that's what I kept saying. Like, and I was in floods of tears. And I was like, my face, oh my goodness, like this. And it is just that whole having to come to terms with the fact that, as you said, on one hand, it's causing these side effects, which are not, which for me included insomnia. And you're just lying there. I want to sleep.
You just can't.
And also the moon phase and all the other thing, and the hunger. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All the different things that you have to deal with on the negative side when it comes to steroids. But then, as you said, it's like, but you need them.
Yeah.
And without them, where would you be? Would you even be alive? You just don't know. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's that nasty, horrible cousin that you have to invite to your birthday
Yes,
party,
yes, that's the one.
despite
But you
not
hate
wanting them there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but they have to be there because without them you wouldn't be able to have the party. So it's one
Exactly.
of those. And it's another thing that when I think it's helpful to let people know going in that these are the type of things that can happen, because I think unless you know that it's to do with your medication or to do with your condition, you internalize it like it's you. So if, for example, if the steroids are causing mood swings, which they definitely can do,
Yeah.
if you don't know that, you might think it's you, and then start
Yeah.
to kind of feel really bad about yourself as a
And
person, and
question yourself.
and feel like you're really bad and this, that, and the other, and not realizing that actually there's something physical going on that's
Yeah.
what's causing you to feel this way. So I think it's really important to put that information and that knowledge out there,
Yeah.
so people can understand, actually I'm feeling up and down, but actually it is a normal part of this journey. So thank you for sharing about that. So what are the best resources that have helped you across the way?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was just sort of doing my own research, but not reading too much into anything.
Right.
And so if something, like, for example, if I was in hospital with something, I'd question the doctors. I'd question, because I'd be like, look, I don't want it sugar coated. I want to know the real reason. I want to know why it can happen. I want to know what your treatment is for it. And then question it and finding out stuff from them, and then looking into what they're telling me, sort of thing, rather than just Googling it and reading mixed matched information that didn't have nothing to do with me or
Right.
anything. But that was it really. And then, like I say, there wasn't much social media when I got diagnosed, but I mean, now there's more. And with the machine I'm on the next stage machine. They've got a little support group, but they're quite new over here. They're more big in America. But I do ambassador work for them. So we go to meetings with them. So that's quite nice because you meet other renal patients.
Yeah.
So talking to other renal patients is the best thing, really. That's why I said I like your podcast, because you can listen to everyone's experience, even though we're all going through the same type of thing, the same type of treatments. Everyone's experience of it is different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think just talking to other people can really help, and questioning your doctors till you're blue in the face and they're just like get really annoyed with you.
You sound a lot like me. I ask a lot of questions too.
Yeah, you have to. You want to know what they're about to put in your body. I'm like, why are you about to jab that in me? Or when a nurse comes, if you're in the hospital and a nurse comes at 10 o'clock at night, all right, I'm just giving you this now. Whoa, what is that? Why are you putting it in that vein? And I'm not having no psycho nurse come killing me. Tell me what that is. I watch too many killer documentaries, believe me. So yeah, I just want to know everything. And then any drugs I'm on, if they start me on any new drugs, I'll start reading the information leaflet back to front and then looking into it even more, because I want to know, like you said before, you want to know the side effects that the drugs are going to give you and things in case, because you just don't know. So
You don't.
That's what I do.
Fantastic. What are common myths about kidney disease that you would like to debunk?
One of them, when I was in the unit having dialysis, and obviously I stopped peeing. I don't pass urine now. And I thought everyone was like that, but that's not true. Some people do still pee when they're on dialysis. And I didn't realise that. I thought we all just stopped and that was it. But some managed to maintain it, which is a good thing, because that's getting rid of more toxins.
Yes.
Other myths. Oh, let me think. I can't think of any really that I've come across personally. I'm sure there is many, but I've not. For people, I tell you, this is a myth. People think once you get a transplant, you're cured. That's it. You're fine. No, that's not true. They don't realise the appointments. I mean, the first week when you get sent home from a transplant, you are back at that hospital every single day for blood tests, every day. And then they might let you go down to having one day off out the 7 of the week, So you got all the blood tests, then the tablets, and then the maintaining of the tablets. And if you don't take them tablets, your kidney will reject, you'll have rejection. So it's not a cure, but it's better treatment, shall we say, than being on dialysis. You've got a better quality of life. So yeah, that was it. Because when I first got my transplant, everyone was like, oh, you're all right now. No, I've still got to watch my foods and watch what I do and everything else. So that was a myth. It's amazing how many people don't realise I didn't realise actually until I was in that situation, how important your kidneys are.
Yes.
Remember my nana used to say, drink barley water, it flush out your body. And I'd be like, what is she on about here? Some Jamaican old rhymes and stuff, making up things to me. But yeah, apparently she was right. I should have drank my barley water and flushed my body out. Might not be in this situation. So yeah, you don't realise how important they are. And a lot of people don't realise you can live with just one kidney. So I think that's why there's not as many live donors, unless you're in that situation where, say, your dad or your daughter or whoever needs a transplant.
Yeah.
You don't realise that. I can't think of any myths. That's about it, really.
No, thank you for the ones that you've mentioned. What question do you wish that I had asked you?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think of anything. You've asked the main ones, really. Yeah, I can't think of anything. I've gone mind blank. Relationships and kidney disease, maybe.
Okay. So how has your kidney disease affected your relationships?
When I first got diagnosed and I was with the guy I was with at that time, when you get kidney disease, you lose your sex drive. That's gone. So you have no sex drive. So I think that can affect a bit. I think they tried to make out it doesn't, but because at that time, remember, I was still young. I was still in my early prime of 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it did affect. So that was strange. But as I've got older and I'm with the guy I'm with now, he's just so supportive. That's the main thing, having someone who will be so supportive of you. I mean, I spoke to a woman not long ago and she got diagnosed with cancer and her partner left her because of it. And that just made me feel sick inside. Like, this poor woman sat there now going through treatment in a pandemic as well on her own. And he's buggered off with someone younger just because she got diagnosed with cancer. And I wanted to cry for her because I just thought I couldn't imagine myself in that situation, because my Niall now is so supportive. He understands when I'm high, when I'm low, when I'm needy, when I want him to bugger off. He feeds me, he looks after me. And I just think everybody deserves that, whether male, female, young, old, whatever. You deserve someone who understands your illness and understands your limitations as well. But I mean, my doctor keeps wanting me to go on nocturnal dialysis. And I'm like, no, that is such a passion killer. No, it's not happening. Hang on, love. We'll get jiggy, but I just need to move my arm because of my lines, Not a chance. Oh, my dad's going to listen to this, isn't he? Oh, dear. Never mind. Sorry, Dad. But it's just not happening. But yeah, I can imagine for some people it can be difficult. But yeah, your sex drive's just not there. It's non-existent. And then obviously I'm in menopause as well at a very young age. So that doesn't help. But if you've got someone that's supportive, it's not an issue. It really isn't.
Wow. So you mentioned about being in early menopause. What caused that?
Well, we think it could be to do with the renal failure, because my body's sort of like, well, we don't want to be producing eggs and things because you've got other things going on. We'll tackle that, sort of issue. Or it could be down to my lupus, because it's known women with lupus can go into premature menopause. But there's no actual answer for it. So we just think it's one or the other. So yeah, about 3 years ago, I just started with hot sweats. They were unexplainable. We thought at first it was my native kidneys, infections in them. So I had them removed, but still had the hot sweats. And when I say hot sweats, like it's freezing today outside, I've got my bedroom fan on. I'm hot. My poor partner's like, can we put the heating on? I'm freezing here. And I'm like, no. And they just come on all of a sudden. And I had to get one of those. Have you seen those cool mats for pets in the summer? Like a blue cool mat. I had to get one of them to put on my bed because I get that hot. It's ridiculous. Wow. It's mental. I never understood it when my auntie used to stand there going, oh, it's warm today. And I'm like, she all right? No, I'm with her now. And what you remember when we used to go to church when you were younger and you had the old black women with a fan at the front? That's me. That's me right there. So yeah, it's not fun. But because of my lupus, I've got antiphospholipid syndrome, so my blood clots. So I can't have anything hormone based. So they can't put me on HRT.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. I'm like, what can I do? And the doctor's like, there's not really a lot we can give you. I'm like, no, there's got to be something, doc. Come on. No, I'm not having that. There's some drug out there. Give me anything. And another doctor said there's an antidepressant that they can give at very, very small doses that apparently can help. But they were looking into it. I've heard nothing back since, so I'm guessing that was a no-go. So yeah, it's like, you ever watch Sex in the City when they go to Dubai? And Samantha's putting yams all over her face because that's what she's told will help her menopause. I'm getting ready to get the yam out, trust me. Mashing that yam and putting it straight on my face. If it helps, it helps. But yeah, it's no fun.
Just don't click on that. I know Dr. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, if that pops up, don't go there.
I'm not falling into that trap. Not a chance.
Stick with the mat and the fan.
Yeah.
But I'm only joking. I don't mean to be flippant. I'm only joking. But yes, do you have a final word for our listeners?
Stay positive. My inbox is always open on Instagram if you use it, and it's at Roxy_honest reviews. Come and check me out, and like I say, I'm always willing to talk to anybody, but stay positive and you'll get there in the end. Everyone is fighting a battle, whether it be kidney disease, mental health, period pains, anything. Everyone is fighting their own battle, so keep going.
Thank you. That is wonderful advice. And can you say your Instagram handle one more time for the listeners?
Yeah, it's at Roxy, ROXY _honest reviews.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and so much advice, so much practical advice, and also being brave enough to share some very personal things with the listeners. And, I commend you and I thank you for doing that, because it definitely will be helping people who, they're early on in their journey, that might not feel that they can share these things with other people, but hearing your story may give them the confidence to speak out, ask questions, ask for help. So thank you so much for sharing all of this with me and the listeners today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. And don't forget that you can contact me on social media using the handle Diary of a Kidney Warrior. Please do subscribe to the podcast, and please do tell a friend. A special episode to celebrate World Kidney Day will be released on Thursday, the 11th of March. Until next time, take care and choose to live.
Diary of a Kidney Warrior, sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love.